All right, let's talk about a city that has become a global name for tech and innovation, Bangalore. Now, this isn't just a story about software and shiny startups. No, this is a journey that goes back thousands of years, a story of vision, different identities, and some pretty incredible transformation.
So, when you think of Bengaluru today, this is probably what comes to mind, right? It is, without a doubt, India's tech capital. It's home to more than 40 unicorns, and just to be clear, that's private startups worth over $1 billion. It's got Asia's biggest innovation ecosystem, and it's a critical hub for over 400 multinational corporations. I mean, it's a global powerhouse.
But this super modern, high-tech identity, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. So how did a traditional South Indian city end up becoming a global tech hub? Well, to figure that out, we've got to rewind the clock. And I mean way, way back.
So our story doesn't start with circuit boards and code. It actually starts with Stone Age tools and a visionary founder who, you could say, laid the groundwork for everything that came after.
The city's modern identity is built on this incredible depth of history. We're talking about human settlements here going all the way back to 3000 BCE. It's wild. And over the centuries, you had these great dynasties like the Gangas and the Cholas who all ruled this land and left their own unique mark. It wasn't until the Hoysalas, though, that a version of the city's name first shows up in writing, Bengaluru, which meant the town of guards.
But then, we get to a really pivotal year. A year that basically marks the birth of the modern city we know today. That year is 1537.
And the person responsible for that was this man, Kempegowda I. Now, he was a local chieftain, but he was more than just a ruler. He was really an urban planner with a serious vision. He is, by all accounts, the founder of modern Bengaluru.
And his plan for the city was so deliberate. He built this central mud fort, and then he set up these dedicated market areas, they're called pet, for different kinds of trades. So you had chick pet for cloth and cotton pet for, well, you can guess that one. He even engineered a whole system of lakes for water. The main takeaway here is that from its very first day, Bengaluru's DNA was coded for commerce.
Now, after Kempegowda's time, the city fell under new rulers, and this next phase created this fascinating split personality, a duality that, honestly, you can still feel in the city today.
So, fast forward to the 18th century. Under the rule of Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan, Bangalore's identity really shifted. It transformed from a trading town into a critical military garrison. That original mud fort that Kempegowda built, it got a major upgrade, rebuilt and fortified with stone, becoming this powerful symbol of military might.
And then came another huge turning point. After the British defeated Tipu Sultan, they took control, and in 1806, they decided to set up a massive military base, or a cantonment, right next to the old original city.
And this slide just perfectly explains what happened next. For more than 100 years, Bangalore was basically two completely different cities existing right next to each other. On one side, you had the old, traditional, commercial peat areas, and right next door, you had the spacious, planned, very English-style British cantonment with its own government, its wide roads, fancy clubs, and railways.
This division wasn't just about maps, it was cultural. It created this totally unique blend of the traditional and the modern, a legacy that you can still feel when you travel between the narrow, bustling lanes of the old city and the leafy, wide avenues of the old cantonment areas.
Okay, so after India gained independence in 1947, the city was put on a brand new path. The focus completely shifted from colonial administration to building a modern industrial nation, and Bangalore was chosen to be right at the center of that effort.
The Indian government set up some of its most important public sector companies right here. We're talking about the titans of aerospace, defense, and electronics, companies like Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. This essentially turned the city into the country's scientific and engineering capital.
And this is the absolute key point. This huge industrial base created this massive pool of incredibly skilled scientists and engineers. It helped grow universities, research labs, and it built this culture of technical excellence. It was basically the perfect launchpad for the digital revolution that was just lurking around the corner. And that spark finally ignited in the 1980s. The government set up Electronic City on the outskirts, creating this dedicated zone just for tech companies. And then, two companies that would later become global giants, you've heard of them, Wipro and Infosys, they set up shop, and that really kicked off the first wave of IT investment.
So,
All of this set the stage for the final act in our story, the city's incredible, meteoric rise to become the Silicon Valley of India, a transformation that would completely change its identity and how the world saw it forever.
The 1990s were the real inflection point. When India liberalized its economy in 1991, it was like pouring rocket fuel on the city's IT sector. Then, the 2000s saw this massive explosion of startups and global R&D centers setting up camp, and by today, well, it's firmly cemented its place as a top-tier global innovation hub.
I mean, just look at this graph. It shows the growth in global capability centers. You can just think of these as the dedicated tech and operations hubs that big global companies build in other countries. It went from about 100 of these in 2005 to over 400 today. This chart right here shows you just how deeply woven Bengaluru is into the global economy.
And this boom completely reshaped the city itself. You had this massive wave of migration, bringing brilliant people from all over India and the world. Entirely new neighborhoods like Whitefield and HSR layout just sprang up out of nowhere. Huge corporate corridors like the Outer Ring Road redefined the city's map. It truly became this multicultural metropolis.
So that brings us to today. And Bangaluru's modern identity really isn't just one thing. Yeah, it's the tech capital for sure, but it's also still a major aerospace hub. It's a leader in biotech and fintech innovation, and woven through all of that, it's a city where ancient temples stand just a few miles away from gleaming, futuristic tech parks.
And this quote just gets to the absolute heart of it. The story of this city isn't about the new, just replacing the old. It's about layers. You have Kempegowda's commercial vision, the British cantonment's planned avenues, the public sector's scientific brainpower, and the tech boom's global ambition. They all exist at the same time, layered on top of each other, shaping the city's one-of-a-kind character.
From a town of guards to the Silicon Valley of India, Bangalore has always been a city of reinvention. And so that really leaves us with one last question to think about. As it faces new challenges and new opportunities, what do you think its next great transformation will be?